Welcome back to Mock the Mock, where we take a look at someone else's mock draft and I'll mock and give you my views, thoughts, and opinions. And Marcus, that franchise guy, just released a new mock draft. So we're gonna go ahead, take a look at this sucker. It is a video, so I'll leave a link for it in the description. I went ahead, already watched it. There will be trades, so let's go ahead, have some fun with this as pick one. To the surprise of absolutely no one is indeed Caleb Williams. I feel like I really need to explain this one. I mean, I think we all agree, even if you disagree about Caleb Williams, you can at least agree that the Chicago Bears are gonna 99.9% go with Caleb Williams as their franchise quarterback. I mean, so much so they brought Keenan Allen out to his pro day. Granted, Keenan Allen, he was just recently traded, so I'm sure he was in the LA area. But at pick two, he has the Commanders going with Drake May. Oh, well, let's go back one. There we go. And yeah, I mean, I agree with this sucker as well, because for me, you got Caleb Williams, and then a little bit of a gap, a gap. Then you have Drake May, and then you have another gap. And that's where I kind of like, I feel like Jaden Daniels, for me, I would still take him top 10 because quarterback inflation's a thing. It's the most valuable position on an NFL roster. So yeah, you're still probably taking that guy top 10. I think he's just outside of my top 10. I think he's like 11. So basically means I'm taking him top 10 if available to me, which could be an option for the Patriots at pick 3. It's rumored that the Patriots aren't going to trade out of that pick. The question is it Marvin Harrison Jr. or is it quarterback 3? Because to be honest, maybe the Commanders, maybe Cliff Kingsbury does fancy himself Jaden Daniels. Regardless, this pick is going to be quarterback. That's not changing. And then New England's pick, he goes with Marvin Harrison Jr. This was I think he said what he would do mock draft. And dude, if I'm the Patriots, I think I'm kind of cool with either Jaden Daniels or insert QB3 here or Marvin Harrison Jr. If you're not going to trade the pick, then you're just going to sit here. You could either get the quarterback or you get the best prospect in this draft in Marvin Harrison Jr. And then maybe you could look at the back end, maybe trade back up into the back end of the first round. So maybe get like a Bo Nix, Michael Penix. Or maybe you're like, we'll be in on the quarterback class in 2025, though. Right now, it doesn't look incredibly great. But again, a year can change a lot when it comes to the draft. I mean, shoot, Jaden Daniels' draft stock elevation rise. That was all this past season. I mean, I think most people viewed him maybe as a 4th, 5th rounder coming into this season. Largely day 3, and now we're talking about him top 10. So a lot can change. Or you could go the opposite way, like Matt Barkley. We got the Arizona Cardinals going with Malik Neighbors. I'm a big fan of Malik Neighbors. I think he's a lot closer to Marvin Harrison Jr. than he is Rome Odunze. Not really a knock on Rome Odunze. It's just a really good wide receiver class. I love his after the catch ability. I think it's top tier in this class. I think he's a guy that runs hella fast, can attack the field at all 3 levels. Cardinals kind of need playmakers. They kind of need receivers. Hollywood Brown just left via free agency. Rondale Moore got traded. They're currently looking at Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch being their wide receiver room, so they need to add some guys there. Pick 5, we get a trade here as we got the Minnesota Vikings coming up, training with the Chargers. And it ends up being a 2026 second round. That's such a random pick just to throw in the draft. It's just so random. It's like, we ain't going to give you a day 2 pick next year, but the year after. That's just so random. But the Vikings, they essentially trade both first rounders. I mean, a lot of people think that they acquired that second first rounder in large part because they were going to try to make a move up here to get a quarterback. A lot of people believe that is going to be J.J. McCarthy, as we've already had a private workout with him. Though Jaden Daniels being on the board at this point, I wonder, does that maybe change plans? I don't know. It could be a very fascinating thing. Typically, I see the Vikings not even having Jaden Daniels as an option here. I feel like they've kind of settled on, yeah, no, we're probably going with JJ McCarthy. We don't expect any of the top 3 quarterbacks to make it to pick 5. You're hoping to get to 4 or 5. Cardinals recently announced that they're open to trade in that pick. But, I mean, really, if you're the Vikings, you're going to take whatever's the cheaper deal, whether it's at 4 or at 5. You kind of want to just get ahead of the Giants just in case they want to do some shenanigans and take a quarterback. But you want to get further away from teams like the Broncos, who could anticipate what the Saints will do, and then the Raiders. You want to get away from those squads who they are drafting respectively 12, 13, and 14. But yeah, I like it. I don't know, man. I'd have to think really hard if I'm Vikings moving up. It's like, do I take Jaden Daniels or am I that in love with the potential of JJ McCarthy? I don't know. It could be very fascinating. New York Giants, they will go with Jaden Daniels. And listen, if you're at 6, you're staring down Jaden Daniels. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, guys. If I'm the Giants, I would be considering JJ McCarthy. I'm that out on Daniel Jones. I'm out on Tommy DeVito. Could be a good backup, but for me, it's like, all right, let's get through this last year with Daniel Jones. And honestly, I would love the idea of bringing McCarthy in, be like, okay, guy, okay, if you are, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on sneaking the Giants head coach. You know why it is? I'm a Dolphins fan, so I don't like thinking about them former Bills coaches. Oh, golly. I can tell you they're DC, Shane Bowen. They got Kefka as offensive coordinator. Why am I blanking so hard? And you know what? I'm not even gonna cut any of that. Y'all gonna see me realize this in real time. Freaking Brian Daboll. Oh, of course it is. But regardless, if I'm the Giants head coach, if I'm Coach Brian here, I'm not staking my career on Daniel Jones. If we have a shot at JJ McCarthy at 6 without having to move up, be like, all right, this could maybe buy me some time where it's like, okay, we got our QB of the future. Daniel Jones is still here. We don't need to rush this through. And honestly, if Daniel Jones could lead us to some success, maybe he becomes a very valuable trade target, trade pawn for us in the next off season. So for me, Giants going quarterback makes a whole world of sense. Whole world. I mean, they also brought in Drew Lock. I also forgot about that. But what the Giants will probably do, I really feel like this is probably going to be receiver for them, but kind of is what it is. I really like the idea of the Giants going QB. I mean, dude, if Jaden Daniels is here, I think you don't even need to rush him in either. So regardless, I feel good. If I'm the Giants, I'll sit back at 6 and see how this plays out and see if I can get a quarterback. Tennessee Titans, they go with Joe Alt. This one you could just kind of pencil it in. They added Calvin Ridley with the big deal. They released Andre Dillard. And for their mom thinks they're going to be going with a tackle here at 7. Honestly, I think they could probably even trade down depending on how many of the tackle prospects that they really like. If they think they like a good amount of the tackles in this class, they can move down, get extra draft capital. Keep in mind, they don't have a 3rd round pick, so wouldn't be a bad idea there. And then at pick 8, Marcus has the Falcons going with Liatu Latu. I mentioned this in almost any mock that I do. Because, like, typically a lot of us like to put in Dallas Turner because it's like, hey, man, I mean, Raheem Morris coming off year where they acquired or they drafted Byron Young, having that nasty speed off the edge. You look at how Dallas Turner tested and you're like, okay, maybe they'd like that. Some people are really high on Jared Verse. Guilty. But I always mention Liatu Latu. Like, he is just so seasoned. He already feels like an NFL vet. He might not have the high-end testing scores, the ideal length, like the guy, like a Dallas Turner, like a Jared Verse, but he's so much more just put together technically. It feels like this could be an option So I'll be very fascinated to see what the Falcons do, but it does feel like edge is probably where they will go in the draft. But before we get to pick 9, if you want to know more about the prospects in this draft class, then I got good news for you. I got a draft guide with over 450 some prospect evals. Listen, I know you love the NFL draft as much as I do, and you're going to want a nice hefty watch list of players during this college football season. Well, go ahead, check out my draft guide. You can purchase it for only $30 by Venmoing or PayPaling me. Links in the description. It's a one-time payment and you get it for this whole draft cycle and forever and always. Technically, it's a Google spreadsheet. So send me your email when you send the payment. I'll get you hooked up. You will see my current prospect rankings and big board, my full evals. And guess what? It updates throughout the whole draft cycle. So it's a great purchase and it's a great way to support the channel. Pick 9, Chicago Bears go with Rome Odunze. If I'm the Bears, I would love if Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze makes it to this pick. You don't really have the draft capital to move up to ensure to get one of those guys. And if anything, one of them aren't there, maybe you trade down, acquire some extra picks in this draft class. Or maybe you could take like a Jared Verse, Aliatu Latu, maybe one of the other prospects you kind of fancy. But I love Rome Odunze landing here, pairing him up with DJ Moore. You got Keenan Allen, and now your quarterback, your new franchise quarterback, Caleb Williams, is just entering one of the most ideal situations a rookie quarterback can. So I love that. I love that. Pick 10, we got the New York Jets going with Brock Bowers. I feel like I just really like this one. You look at the Jets, and I don't really think they'll be looking for the long term right now. They got Aaron Rodgers. You probably got him for another year, maybe 2. So maybe grabbing some immediate impact players is the way to go, like a Brock Bowers, who would immediately be a starter there for the Jets. You could talk about a tackle because, you know, Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith, those aren't long-term options. I'm not against that, but Brock Bowers is sitting here, especially if the top 3 wide receivers are already off the board, then I'm totally okay with that. I think I had that in my last mock. All right, so we got the Chargers here. They got, this was via a trade down with the Vikings. They go Byron Murphy, which I found very fascinating. I really like, me personally, I really like going with Quinion Mitchell. But I mean, I get it, man. The interior of the, I was going to say the Michigan, the Chargers defensive line isn't anything special. I mean, we could go take a look at that. I mean, they brought back Morgan Fox, who's a fine player, but they bring in Poona Ford, and honestly, that's about it. Maybe Scott Matlock kind of steps up, but he's probably no more than a rotation player. They got Christopher Hinton, but he was kind of a developmental guy coming out of the 2022 class out of Michigan. Honestly, I thought he came out like he had another year of eligibility. I don't know why he didn't just return, come back. They do have my boy Jared Clark from Coastal Carolina. Had one of the best stories last year. If you don't remember, you should go check it out, man. He very inspirational. But you got a bunch of guys, but you really got no horses there, if you know what I'm saying. You got no big superstar players, and Byron Murphy can be that. Like his play strength, his explosiveness, just next level. He led all defensive interior players in pressures and pass rush win rate. So him going as high as 11, I honestly sneakily think he could go at 9, honestly, to the Bears perhaps. Maybe even 8. Maybe the Falcons see him as the top defender in this class. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I'm just kind of giving my preference. I prefer Quinion because I think the Chargers, their cornerback room is not great. They did just add Christian Bolton, but he's dealt with the injuries coming off kind of a down year anyway. So, all right, Bo Nix going to Denver Broncos. Denver, someone tried to tell me in the chat, I was like, they don't have to go with the quarterback. They could go into the season with Jarrett Stidham. And do what? Get Sean Payton fired. And it's not even like Jared Stidham might be good enough to keep him out of the top 5. I still think they'd probably be a top 10 team in terms of the draft, but Stidham could be good enough to keep him out of the top 5. I really do think they're going to take a swing on quarterback. It doesn't feel great to go with like a Bo Nix at 12, but like trading back and then snagging him because I think Bo Nix is a really good fit for Sean Payton's system. I honestly believe Denver is going quarterback because I just can't fathom them going into the year with Stidham as a starter. Pick 13, we have the Raiders going with Amarius Mims. Very fascinating to see that he is tackle 2 off the board. And I get it, dude. The dude's upside. I thought he was going to be like coming into the year after my summer evals. I had him as a top 3 offensive tackle in this class. I had him as a top 10 type of player. Unfortunately, the season didn't really play out that way because of an ankle injury. So you got a guy who has very, very interesting tools, great length, great movement skills at 340 pounds, but very limited starting experience. So someone you're gonna have to like work up. I assume this move then makes their Mumford move into guard, which is fine. It's A-okay. So I like this pick, man. I like it for the Raiders. I don't know if Mims goes this high though. I wonder if like the NFL is gonna kind of poo-poo his lack of starting experience. Olu Fashanu going to the Saints. Pencil it in. They did bring in Chase Young. Doesn't necessarily mean they're done at edge, but I think you really do need to address the tackle with Ryan Ramczyk. His future is questionable, at least his long-term future. It's a bit questionable with the knee, the lack of cartilage there in his knee. Trevor Penna has really shown nothing. I think this is a great spot for Olu to go. All right, we got the Colts going Brian Thomas. I really do like that. I think they could really do no wrong here. They could go Quinion and be like, great pick. They go Brian Thomas, great pick. Gives them that vertical target with actual size and speed. While they have Alec Pierce, but I feel like Alec Pierce is more of like a wide receiver, 3-4. He's a bit more one-trick pony-ish, while Brian Thomas could really develop into a very full skill set coming off a breakout year there in LSU. So I do like the pick quite a bit. I believe we have a trade at 16. Yes, we got the Eagles moving up. They grabbed Quinion Mitchell. I mean, they've addressed basically everything but the corner position in free agency. They do, to make this trade work, he had them swap first rounders, and then the Eagles send over their mid-second round pick. They acquire the Seahawks third round pick, but there's an extra 6th round pick there thrown into it. So if you're curious about the draft capital, you could just go watch this video. But Quinion Mitchell will be a phenomenal pickup. I love it. Love it for the Eagles. It's just you can't bet on some of their, like, Darius Slay and James Bradbury are obviously not long-term options. You're kind of hoping they kind of bounce back now with Vic Fangio back in the building, and this time as the DC, they kind of bounce back to that 2022 form. But there's no guarantees, and you really don't, like, you saw promise from Keely Ringo and like Eli Ricks, but it's such a small sample size. They do get Isaiah Rodgers back, I think, after suspension. He was suspended the whole season last year. So that is something to also keep in mind. But I think at the end of the day, man, just adding more talent to the cornerback room is never the wrong answer. Real quick, I got to give a shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Thank you for sponsoring today's video. When you sign up using promo code Broshmo at Underdog Fantasy, they will double that first deposit up to $100 dues. And they got so much going on now with the big tournament. Because apparently I can't say the madness and the March were, apparently it's trademarked. Isn't that stupid? Wow. It's just like with the big game in football, if you know what I mean. Golly. The world is a stupid place. But if you do sign up for Underdog Fantasy, remember, use promo code Broshmo. They will double that first deposit up to $100 dues. But please, bet wisely, bet responsibly. Pick 17. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars going with Terrion Arnold. This is nice. I don't know if he makes it here just because feels like a lot of rumors there in the NFL circle are pumping him up as a top 15 guy, but this would be good. You just added Ryan Nielsen as the DC there. He's more of this press heavy man coverage guy. So you want to get someone like a Quinion or a Terrion Arnold, because then after that you're like, oh man, can't like I'd be okay with Kool-Aid. I really would, but I don't know if the NFL likes his physicality. I think it's fine. Really, the lack of physicality maybe comes up at like trying to get off of blocks, but honestly, that's about it. Like, he was a sure tackler, so kind of is what it is. Cooper DeJean, a guy that didn't play a lot of man coverage at Iowa, being mainly a zone coverage, zone heavy scheme there, and then Nate Wiggins, another case of lack of physicality. So Terrion Arnold falling in here is kind of the perfect scenario there for the Jaguars. Pick 18 is a trade as the Cardinals, they move up with from pick 27. They give up a third and a fourth next year. Move up to 18 to get Dallas Turner. Hey, man, good players fall in the draft. And when that happens, teams make moves. Cardinals have a lot of draft capital. So if they want to move up and get some of this top tier talent that is fallen, go ahead and do that. This is a team that desperately needs rush or pass rushing help there. As we saw some promise from like BJ Ojolari, but it looks like they probably view him more as a DPR, designated pass rush only, or maybe they expand his role this upcoming season. I don't know. We'll see. But Gardeck, what do they got? Zaven Collins. I don't think those are like, I think those are options you could probably upgrade from at the edge position. Pick 19, the Rams select Troy Fautanu, tackle out of Washington. This is just like ideal. If he makes it here, man, I know like Alaric Jackson played a lot of snaps for him last year, but if you can upgrade that, you would love to, and this would be a perfect, and I mean perfect, pickup for the Rams. Yeah, they could go interior with Johnny Newton still on the board. Yeah, they could go edge with Jared Verse on the board. They could go corner because you still got guys like Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Nate Wiggins available here. But I really like Fautanu. I have him higher on my board than all the other guys that I just named, outside of Jared Verse. But I mean, they're close enough to where really it could be either of them. Talanise Fuanga going to the Steelers here. I think that's a great pickup. Immediately insert him at right tackle. You move Broderick Jones over to left tackle, and you're feeling really good about the offensive line to some degree. We'll see how Nate Herbig does at center, if that's who they're going to stick with. But I like it. Good pickup there. Let's see what my Dolphins do as they go with Graham Barton out of Duke. He is someone that I've talked about the last like 3 weeks, just slowly moving up my board. It's like, man, you know, the Niners would love a guy with his type of versatility. Probably ends up being a guard, but can play center and maybe even moonlight at tackle. Then I'm like, you know what? The Buccaneers, they would love a guy like that could come in, play left guard, and maybe even moonlight at tackle if injuries happen, or move to center if they want to move Robert Hainsey around. And then we get to Dallas at 24. Man, they would love some offensive line help, a guy with this type of versatility. Yada, 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 until we get to here now. The Dolphins, who just need offensive line help. So this is, I think, probably the ceiling for Graham Barton for me. And I'd be cool with it. I love his versatility. You immediately slide in at probably right guard because they're going to have Isaiah Wynn at left guard. Or shoot, maybe they really like Robert Jones and Barton ends up playing left guard. I don't know. We'll see. But with how beat up the Dolphins' offensive line was last season, I appreciate this pick. All right. What else we got going? Okay, this is Seattle's pick. They go Jackson Powers Johnson. I mean, you move down, you acquire extra draft capital, you get Jackson Powers Johnson. Listen, Olusegun Oluwatimi played what, like maybe all of 100 snaps maybe last season. He was a 5th round pick. Doesn't mean he's the guy. You bring in Jackson Powers Johnson. Maybe he could play guard. I don't know. I don't love his length, so I feel like in that regard that the JPJ might be limited to center only role, but I think he is probably one of the best center prospects I've seen since like Tyler Linderbaum. I was nuts about Linderbaum. I don't think he reaches that crescendo for me because I was really high on Linderbaum, but he's like right up there, man. I'm a big fan of Jackson Powers Johnson. To me, guaranteed first rounder. No, in the NFL, they probably won't do it. JC Latham going to the Chargers here. He lists him as an offensive lineman, so I'm assuming you can play him in there at guard, but I think this probably means he's right tackle, though. I mean, I guess it gives you versatility along your offensive line. I know some people, or like the NFL's, like half the NFL's rumored to see Latham more as a guard, and honestly, at his size, I think I'd rather him at tackle. I think he'd be fine at tackle regardless. This is an upgrade over Pipkin, so looks good to me, bro. Dallas Cowboys, they actually trade down with the despicable Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs go with Adonai Mitchell. The trade down, basically the Cowboys get a third and a fifth. Well, basically they exchange fifth rounders, and the Cowboys get a slightly better fifth rounder than they had. But Chiefs go Adonai Mitchell. I love this addition. You already got Hollywood Brown there. You got Rashee Rice. Adonai Mitchell, suddenly you're feeling really good about the wide receiver core. The Chiefs, they have shown in the past that are willing to go move up and grab their player. Did it with Trent McDuffie. They could definitely do it here. Green Bay Packers go with Cooper DeJean. Oh, this is such a lazy pick. It's a good pick, guys. It's a good pick. Someone with his type of versatility, especially, I mean, what, man? Your safety room is probably still pretty lackluster. No, y'all brought in Xavier McKinney, but I mean, yeah, look at this. You got Anthony Johnson Jr., who was a 7th rounder at Iowa State last season, slotted to be the starter. And then after that, like Benny Sapp. But also, I mean, Eric Stokes was unable to get healthy last season. You have Carrington Valentine out there who I would say he was pretty impressive, but another 7th rounder. So you want to just keep throwing talent there. You want to keep adding competition and depth. I always talk about how volatile the cornerback position is. So if you could just keep adding good players there, you're probably going to be in good shape. Real quick, what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below, where we have that nice, beautiful football discourse. All right, we got Tampa Bay Buccaneers going with Jared Verse. So typically it always feels like an edge rusher in mock drafts makes it to the Buccaneers, whether it's like a Liatu Latu. In this case, it's Jared Verse. It's never Dallas Turner, though. It's something to notice. Never Dallas Turner. But this would be a great pickup. They really started going in on just kind of a heavy rotation to keep guys fresh with Shaq Barrett, Joe Tryon, Yaya Diaby. Now with Barrett gone, you just insert Jared Verse, who you love his speed to power profile. All right, this is the Cincinnati Bengals going with Ladd McConkey, which I found very interesting. I mean, yeah, Tyler Boyd is gone, so you might be looking for that to bring in another capable receiver there in the slot. As far as we're concerned, T. Higgins is going to be a Bengal next year unless they end up trading him. Obviously, there's definitely some unrest between him and the Bengals organization. So I don't know. We'll find out. We're going to just have to watch it play out. I know some people really like Charlie Jones to be like, oh, he'll step up and be the slot here. It's like, I mean, I don't mind taking a shot here. I don't know. If I'm the Bengals, I'm still taking a tackle, though. But, I mean, you trade down. Who are we looking at? Tyler Guyton at this point, which is fine. I think this is probably appropriate value for him. Yeah, because all the other tackles have blown off the board. This is why I think they should go get tackle. Actually, didn't they bring in someone to play right tackle recently? It wasn't It was Trent Brown. I was about to say it wasn't Trent Brown, but it's not Mekhi Becton. It's Trent Brown that they brought in, but that's a short-term solution. All right, pick 28, Buffalo Bills go with Johnny Newton. I like this, adding some, just some bodies there to the interior. Some people are like, oh, he's smaller, so he's a lot closer to Ed Oliver. We need a little bit more size. And it's like, I feel like that Bills defensive line, you've probably heard the saying, why have dump trucks when you can have Ferraris? Well, Newton is a Ferrari because that dude plays like a bat out of hell with his hair on fire. Goes and gets after it. I think wide receiver could still be in the cards here. Regardless, I think this is a good pickup for the Bills. I think they're another team sitting in a pretty good situation where they could just let the draft come to them. Detroit Lions, they go Keon Coleman. Added an I there to Coleman. And I'm the last person to point out typos on people's Photoshop work because I got a lot of them, is what it is. He does mention in this video that this was prior to Cam Sutton getting released, and overall he still likes the pick here. You could probably still get a good corner in round 2, but definitely Kool-Aid McKinstry kind of is a name to bring up here that could be in the cards. I like the Keon Coleman pickup because it gives you size and physicality at the wide receiver position, and they don't really have that. So I like it. I like it. Some people are really out on Keon Coleman, and I'm just not one of those guys. Pick 30, Jordan Morgan going to the Ravens. The Ravens did have a private workout with Jordan Morgan. I think he immediately comes in and probably contends at left guard or maybe right guard. I guess it really depends on who do they feel more comfortable with, Ben Cleveland or Andrew Voorhees. They also have that cat they drafted out of Oregon last year. But like Jordan Morgan, he could end up being like their apparent left tackle for Ronnie Stanley, but immediately he could probably contend for one of the guard spots. So it does sound like the Ravens are very interested in him. Pick 31, 49ers go with Nate Wiggins. This is an exceptional value. They could definitely use cornerback help, especially if they're not going to be in on offensive line help, which it doesn't feel like they're going to be. Then this would be great. Just to, again, the corner position is such a volatile position. It's great to add depth, talent, and competition. And then with the, I guess this isn't the final pick because he does a pick for the Panthers. But he's got the Cowboys going with Xavier Worthy. Speed kills, keeping the Texas boy in Texas. And yeah, I mean, you get in a really good field stretcher. They did release Michael Gallup, so they're probably open to adding wide receiver help, which, I mean, in this class, why wouldn't you? So yeah, I like that. Let's run through the Xavier Leggett going to the Panthers. I like that. Gives them size, speed. You have the very crafty route runner in Deontay Johnson. You also have still Jonathan Mingo and Adam Thielen there. So you just add in just more capable receivers for poor Bryce Young. He also has the Patriots' next pick here because I guess he wanted to show off, hey, I went quarterback here the second round, Michael Penix, which, hey, totally in the cards. I think the Patriots, personally, they'd probably move back up in the back end of the first round. I guess if they could. Again, I mean, we saw last year with the tight ends, no one was willing to play ball with them because they wanted to move back up in the back end of the first to take Will Levis because you really do want to get that fifth-year option, but you kind of have to have a dancing partner if you're going to complete the trade. So maybe that won't be the case for the Patriots. Maybe they have to sit Pat here at 34 and kind of hope their quarterback makes it or a quarterback makes it. But like all in all, I thought this was a really good mock draft by Marcus. I tend to really like his work. I'm a big fan of that franchise guy. And if you haven't already, man, go ahead and subscribe to that dude's channel. He is great. But if you want more draft content, I just released my tight end rankings. I got my defensive tackle rankings down there. So go ahead, check out those videos. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.